your ministry is in England.
Yes.
How large is the LDS Church in England?
That's a difficult question to answer, not least because the LDS are somewhat misleading in the figures which they give as to their adherence, and how does one define an adherence to Mormonism. The LDS in the United Kingdom claim approximately 190,000 members. On any given Lord's Day in the United Kingdom, I would guesstimate that in reality only about 30,000 are attending their ward meeting houses and branches. So that's a huge discrepancy. My own personal typist, if I may give this illustration, she was involved with Mormon missionaries as a teenager, and she was baptized a Mormon. Within months of her Mormon experience, she began to question things. She began to reason that this was not altogether correct, this wasn't altogether right, and she drifted away. Shortly afterwards, she became a Christian. She works for me. She does a lot of my office work, my typing. She hasn't darkened the door of a Mormon establishment for over 30 years. I said to her a few months ago, Pam, do you realize you are still considered LDS? And she was pretty horrified when I told her that. And I think this is a story everywhere in the world, and not least here in Utah. There are tens and tens of thousands of inactive Mormons who are basically saying, we do not believe this. They don't want to put themselves to any trouble or hassle, so they don't actively remove themselves from the LDS membership list. But to all intents and purposes, they are not members.
Andrew, we're having some technical problems. So is your mic hooked up? Or did it? There we go. came off in the process there.
Right.
And if you'll flip it around, I think it'll receive a whole lot better.
Okay.
The mic part is on the back side. There you go.
There we go.
Okay, and then take the cord around. Our apologies, everyone. We it's been we have technical difficulties, and with the live television program, sometimes it gets pretty interesting around here. But now that we're working, I hope you've been able to hear the conversation. The LDS Church actually went to England very early, didn't they?
It did, and got many of its recruits from Lancashire and Scotland especially. The Mormons had an apparently attractive thing to offer. Freedom, land, a new start. They kept quiet about their polygamy. They kept quiet about their extraordinary and bizarre belief system. And so many hundreds, indeed thousands of British people were enticed to go to the United States, in my opinion, many under false pretenses.
Now you had Orson Pratt as a leader there, mm-hmm. in the LDS Church in England, and he was actually denying polygamy long after it was officially announced here. It was 1852 when it became a public doctrine. Right. Yeah. Here in the United States, but as late as 1856 or something like this, they were denying that they were practicing polygamy, and people were moving here, giving everything they had to the church, arriving, and finding out they really are practicing polygamy.
Sure, absolutely. I mean, this sort of deception is truly shocking. A most interesting book that I've enjoyed reading and found most enlightening and profitable is Wife Number 19. It's the testimony, the story really of Eliza Young, the 19th wife of Brigham Young, who escaped the seraglio of Brigham Young and really lifted the lid on some of these extraordinary practices, and also, significantly, the deceit which was perpetrated, not only in the United Kingdom, but other Western European countries.
There was another one that was roughly contemporary with that by Fanny Stenhouse called Tell It All.
Okay.
Are you familiar with that story?
I'm not, no.
She was from one of the Channel Islands, I believe, and was brought into the LDS Church. She was assured that they were not practicing polygamy. They sell everything. They give it to the Perpetual Immigration Fund. So everything they have is invested in the LDS Church. They come out here and find out that they've been lied to. They are practicing polygamy. And she's horrified by it and eventually leaves the church over it.
Sure. Well, there's not only the deceit, but the sheer hardship that many of these immigrants undertook in their travels to Utah, to Zion. And it is a tragic story that hundreds lost their lives under a deception.
And many of the ones that were in the handcart companies were from England, weren't they?
They were.
So what do you see going on in England with the LDS Church, and what do you see happening with your ministry there? I mean, do you see the LDS Church growing in England?
No, I don't. The LDS organization is in free fall in the United Kingdom. I'm glad to tell you that. They have a huge job retaining the small number of converts they get. More or less, once somebody gets familiar with the deeper doctrines of the LDS, which they generally keep secret until that person is initiated more into the organization, it's too much for them, and they leave. The LDS has reduced the number of missionaries working in the United Kingdom, probably as a reflection of the fact that they're just not getting the numbers. And the LDS is very number orientated, as we know. In the England-London mission, about 3-4 years ago, there were about 230 missionaries working. Now it's in the region of 110, 120. This is a very substantial drop. Part of it could be explained by the exchange rate, which was for that period very unfavorable from an American perspective. The dollar was weak against the pound, but a lot of it, I'm sure, is to do with the fact that their efforts were not bearing fruit.
So what kind of ministry do you have there in England amongst the LDS?
Okay, well, my ministry is worldwide, but I'll say a little bit about that shortly. But my work is one to reach out, to communicate with LDS people. I passionately believe in being proactive. The gospel call is to go out into all the world, and of course, all the world means Mormons, as it does Muslims, Roman Catholics, Jews, atheists. There is a responsibility, a gospel responsibility on Christian people to be proactive in taking the gospel out. So I witness outside Mormon establishments, speak to individual Mormons, and also part of my ministry is to inform the wider Christian community as to the belief system, the belief structure of the LDS, so they could be equipped themselves to help and minister to any Mormons living in their localities. Now back to what I was saying, my work is a worldwide work. I am speaking to Mormon missionaries throughout the world, not only the United Kingdom, in Australia, New Zealand, and here in the United States. I am currently speaking to many hundreds of missionaries throughout the world, and And thank God, many of them are encouraging, fruitful conversations.
What kind of